Goede, who is the voice of Mewtwo from the first Pokemon movie and is a fellow artist. Would you go in and introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi, this is Jay Goede, a.k.a. Philip Bartlett, and I'm just happy to be checking in with Aaron here.
Yep, yep. And just to get you guys familiar with him, about hold on, I'm trying to think. I felt like maybe 20 something years ago, you've gotten the job to do the voice of Mewtwo.
Yes, correct. Yes.
And would you mind going into detail about that?
Yeah, it was just, excuse me, it was just another audition for me. And a friend of mine said, hey, there's this thing, it's this Japanese film. They're needing actors to, when they make the American dub of it, and, go in and audition. He had gotten a part, I don't know which role he got. A smaller part of in one of the, related to he was either in the film or something related after that. But my friend warned me. He says, you're in the union, it's a non-union job, so you're going to have a pseudonym or a fake name. And so I chose Philip, which is my middle name, and Bartlett, which is the street I grew up on, Bartlett Boulevard in Minnesota. And the guys were very nice, but it was, I was a bit of a snob about everything. I'd done a lot of Shakespeare in New York and out of town, and I guess that's partly why my voice was probably suited for Mewtwo. And I just guessed, they told me a little bit about the character and what he was going through. And then the rest, they just, they had me record some things. And I auditioned for him and the part of the scientist who creates him. And those are the two parts I got. And the rest is history.
Yeah.
Infamy.
Yeah, especially because after that role you have became a because after about that time you have became a on-stage actor for a little while for Pokemon Live and whatnot. Cause
the Pokemon Live, literally somebody said, I went and saw this thing called Pokemon Live with my daughter at Radio City, and your name's in the program, and I was shocked because they weren't supposed to use my name, but I guess with the paperwork and stuff, they put down my real name, and I was still in the union. Luckily, nobody caught that, but and then another friend said I saw the Pokemon Live with my kids, and your name was there, and I just figured out that they had used the soundtrack from the film, and I never did get a chance to see the show, but I think that's what happened, and then suddenly people were confused, maybe people like yourself, where they didn't know exactly what was up. And then I read later online, I think on Wikipedia, that Philip Bartlett had died of cancer in Apple Valley, Minnesota, which is not far from me, but he certainly wasn't dead in my eyes. And then I think a couple other people contacted me over the years wondering what that was about. These are people that saw the show, I guess, and were mystified that the voice in the soundtrack was the same as the show. And they couldn't figure out why there was a brand new name there. So that's when it all kind of started. It was probably 10 years ago, I think, when people noticed this. Or it was the first time I got contacted about it. So lucky me, I was a mystery Philip Bartlett. And I loved doing the recordings. It was a lot of fun. I just remember spending a few hours, I think it was 3 or 4 hours in the studio, which was fun. It went really fast, and we didn't do a lot of retakes on the vocals. Luckily, Mewtwo didn't need a flap to match, but the flaps, Japanese, apparently from what I've heard, Japanese artists doing anime weren't that interested in the flap or obsessed with it the way that Americans are with the words matching up to the movement of the mouth. And because I was playing Mewtwo, it didn't matter because it was all internal thoughts.
Yep, especially because for some people who may not know this, you also did a Mewtwo voiceover for the introduction of Mewtwo before the next half of the first film. Would you mind going into detail about that, which is the birth of Mewtwo?
Yeah, the thing about it is not to in any way I'm really fascinated. People love it, and when they know that it was me, it's kind of fun to find out people who were obsessed with it, in ways I didn't understand. It was just another job for me, but like I asked, I don't even remember some of the lines. It's been so long ago. That was a film that one of the projects I worked on, the first, I think it was the only anime that I'd done in voiceover. So, yeah, it was just another experience for me. I enjoyed it, and then quickly forgot about it until people contacted me over the years. But I remember having fun doing the dialogue. Forgive me, I forgot his name. The scientist who creates Mewtwo. Having fun with that, and I have a question. I have not seen the new Pokemon. Didn't they do a retelling of it from Pikachu's point of view? Is that what the last film was?
Not exactly. It's mostly retelling of the kind of like the first episode, and then some
okay,
extra
gotcha.
things. Mewtwo might have been shown, but that's about it.
Okay, that's kind of what I thought from people who'd seen it. I didn't get a chance to see it, but yeah, it's just it's 20-something years later. It's fun. It's a little bit of a memory. I don't remember a lot about the whole process, but that which I shared with you is really what it was about. And I think I got paid about $5,000 and no residuals because I had used it was out of the union work, which is not the best advice to give someone if you're in the union. But it was just another job because there was no residuals coming in over the years. They were just not paying. It was just a one-time shot, and they made that clear when I auditioned that I was going to get one fee. And no matter how many times it went into new versions of it or syndication or, typically when you do voiceover work, you get paid every time it's on at the beginning of, and then they go down in tiers of the pay getting lower and lower as the thing becomes part of history. So I never got residuals on it. And the great thing about it 20 years later is that, for example, I was walking through a Target store recently and there was a figurine of Mewtwo, and that kind of stuff is fun for me. And when I've taught acting to animation students actually in South Florida, and was always surprised. I brought it up one day that I'd said I'd actually created the voice for Pokemon, and a few of the students were like, "No way, that's you! I can't believe it!" And then people don't quite believe it, but I'm sure that must have been mystifying for people that were curious over the years. So it's fun to share with people. It's a big deal for a lot of people still, and I'm just grateful to be, been a part of something that means something to somebody. A lot of kids grew up on the film, and for some reason it was, their first introduction to anime or the whole series, and that's pretty neat when I've had acting students get excited about that. And again, it was just another job for me, and I enjoyed it and kind of put it on the back shelf. I had so many other jobs that came up, around that time and afterwards. And for many years, I didn't even talk about it because it wasn't really something in my peripheral vision. I didn't really think much of it beyond those first recordings and then the Pokemon Live stuff that I knew had gone on.
Yeah, because I did find something a little peculiar, though. About after the first film came out, maybe about some years later, the Mewtwo Return special came out, or the Mewtwo Return special was of course being trailered, in one of their promotional tapes, and they had voice clips, from when you did Mewtwo for Pokemon Live, and I was like, what's going on here? Like when they showed the first trailer, I was like, wait, were you originally planned to be doing the role again, or is that just a mistake?
Yeah. I honestly, my guess is that the jobs were union after a time, and I think by the time, I don't know what the time between the two films, I'm not sure how much time that took. Maybe as far as the second movie to be released, or Mewtwo's Returns. Is that correct?
Yeah, which is the TV special, which was not
Yeah,
exactly a theater release.
right. So I didn't know much about the actor who I think must have voiced Mewtwo. I didn't, it's just because I didn't follow it. But I knew later on. I found out that there was a couple more, Mewtwo sightings in the movies, and I thought that was interesting because I would have been interested to hear what the other actor sounded like. And honestly, I haven't ever listened to it. Beyond like I said, the film came out. Went to see it. I was touring in a show. Went and saw it in San Francisco. In San Francisco, and thought it was a lot of fun. Didn't quite understand it completely because I was 35, something like that, 35 years old, and I thought it was a lot of fun. The kids loved it, and then I kind of forgot about it. So I wasn't really interested necessarily in listening to the other actor who had done Mewtwo. I don't know if you've followed the careers or are you interested in Star Wars, but for me, that was the movie growing up that just changed my life. I loved everything about it. Saw it 7 times in the theater and in the film in the theaters. And I hear Carrie Fisher, who sadly has passed away, but she, even though it was the film that introduced her to that whole audience that later became obsessed with the film, like me and Princess Leia, it was just another job. And I think finally she surrendered to the fact that it meant something to people, and she started going to various Comic-Cons and other events that, where they were interested in her work. And it was just there was special about her before she died, or after she died, it was released. And she, sounds like she kind of surrendered to the fact that she was beloved by a lot of people, and Princess Leia was going to be her mark on the world. And even though she went on to do many, many things afterwards, that was the role for many reasons that people remembered her. And she said it herself, it was just another job. It was kind of a whim. She didn't think that movie was going to turn into anything. And there you go, Star Wars. So on some level, I identified with her because she didn't really want to talk about it for years. And then the way she stated it, she kind of finally realized that her job was to be the caretaker of Princess Leia and represent her as I don't know what the exact words were she used, but it's a good analogy. I mean, I'm very proud of having been a part of it, and it does get me very excited that people love it and have loved it for many years. Some people it was their first animation movie or just the first anime thing they'd ever seen. So I'm very proud of it, and haven't thought much about it until recently when people like yourself contacted me and started, letting me know how thrilled they were that it was a part of their life. So
yeah,
that's that's what it was to people.
Yeah.
And I think they identify with Mewtwo. I think I don't know about yourself, but there's certainly a lot of identification, and I can see why now, years later, why people really attached themselves and really enjoyed him so much in the movie, because he's the outsider. He's Hamlet. He's Frankenstein's monster. He's a lot of things that the same reason those films resonate, and Hamlet has always been one of the best Shakespeare's, is because there's Hamlet trying to figure out what life's all about. And I think there's a little bit of that in Mewtwo, and that makes people they identify and they have some compassion for him.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially because especially you've of course done Mewtwo for Going Live, and then of course I saw that once you once had your role for Mewtwo done in the video game Pokemon Puzzle League. Would you mind explaining about that? Or
oh, really?
Yeah.
I don't know anything about it. I hate to disappoint you, but it was one of the games that came out. Is that what you mean?
Yes. That was for the
okay.
which is based on the anime.
Did it have my voice?
Yes.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah. So
there you go.
So for it's like the final boss. which I was kind of
I
like, I
gotcha.
was kind of like, then I was like, after I realized that, I was like, kind of makes sense why they did it,
Yeah, yeah,
but like, did they just use recordings that they already had, or did you just go in
yeah.
again
I
and
mean,
do the
all
recordings?
I can say is because I can't honestly say with accuracy that I know much about the project. I know that is that the video game where Mewtwo kind of is a badass, so to
Yep,
speak.
yep.
Okay, then yeah, a friend of mine has been very, he just he's been into that game for a while since I don't know how old the game is, but he said he liked being Mewtwo in the game because he just kind of pummeled through a lot of the stuff within the game. So yeah, I just the being a non-union job, I didn't really follow. I'm sure if there had been money in the bank from this kind of stuff, if it had been a union job, I would have been very curious to see where where the licensing and where the my voice was going to be put next. But out of sheer laziness, I haven't followed, and just lack of interest, to be honest with you, because I was so focused on other things. I haven't followed the journey of any of the games or the second film or Mewtwo's Revenge. And I think I should, re-educate myself. You'd asked me to say some lines from the film.
Yeah, yes, you
I
did.
would love, be happy to do that. It just depends on, what you love to hear, what you most identify with, and if you would like me to, I can, I can give you some of the words as best I know how.
Yeah. Anyway, from the piece of dialogue I gave, from the pieces of the dialogue I gave you was the confrontation between Mewtwo and Giovanni, which was
Hmm.
I gave you just Mewtwo's half.
Right, right, right. So let me know when you'd like to take a stab at that. I'd be happy to. Again, I haven't studied the film, religiously, so hopefully it'll be close to what you expect from, the performance.
Anyway, you do have the dialogue, right? Because I sent it to you.
Yeah, yeah, yep. Let me hang on a second. You still there? Here we go.
Yeah, I'm still here.
All right. So let's look at this stuff. Oh, yes. I remember. Here we go. Let me start start at the beginning, I guess.
Yep.
That cannot be. You said we were partners. We stood as equals. I wasn't born a Pokemon. I was created, and my creators have used and betrayed me. So, I stand alone. Humans may have created me, but they will never enslave me. This cannot be my destiny. How's that?
That was great.
Okay. I just, the part of the film I love the best is, when he's obviously, I love the ending, but I also love when he's, you're first into his thoughts while he's in the tube, the largest test tube in the world.
Yeah.
And he breaks out.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really, again, because I didn't have to match the flap with the, way I did the lines, it was a lot of freedom in that. So, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I can especially tell you really had it in yourself in the performance when you did it.
Well,
You
I just
really enjoyed it.
thank you. I'm very, very proud of it, and I think a very good friend of mine has done some of the various, festivals, Comic-Cons, that kind of stuff. And he said that there's many people who would probably be really, really thrilled to have a chance to meet me or get some kind of resolution as to why Mewtwo was such a mystery as far as the voice. And who knows, I may even try to start attending those just to see what they're about. I've seen, of course, I've just never been to one. And I guess there's one kind of, well, very much so, that's dedicated to animation. And I don't really know if other voices show up for autographs and that kind of stuff, other voices from other films or
yes.
television stuff.
Yes, I can confirm that.
Yeah. So who knows? It would be fun to do. And I'm actually an artist as well, as you know, and I've done autographs for friends and some children, and I usually paint a quick Mewtwo for them, and have that ready to go. And then, of course, the autograph, and that would be fun to do. I'd love to meet fans. I'd love to, just get a wrap around my brain what's going on and what that's about. The festival sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, especially because for some people that may not know, what type of art do you do?
I started as an art major in college and was very interested in oil paints and painting people, and eventually I became a set design major, and that led me into acting and the theater. But right now I work in pastels and gouache. Pastels are kind of difficult to manipulate, and I'm really enjoying kind of getting better at that, and have sold several paintings over the years. So yeah, my website is www.jaygoede.com, and that's where you can see some of my artwork, and also on my Facebook page. I have two different pages there, one about the art and one about just me, like everybody else. So thank you for asking. That's stuff that, and again, even I might even enjoy starting to paint Mewtwo. I think that would be fun for people, and might be something that people would want to collect.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, did you expect your role to become so known over the years, or did it just, or
not at all,
just come around?
Yeah, no, and again, that's such a thrilling thing. I think I mentioned this to you last time, but when I was a child, beyond Star Wars, where I think I was in 6th grade when that film came out, and the movie that made an impression on me for as far as fantasy when I was very young, I just remembered about 3 years old seeing flying monkeys and a very scary witch, and The Wizard of Oz, later some Disney animation stuff, but that movie became very important to me, and I became obsessed with it. So I'm kind of a Wizard of Oz geek, among other geeky things I do or interested in. But, I think I said this in the earlier interview that Jack Haley, who played the Tin Man in The Wizard of Oz, it's 1939. It's 75 plus years ago. I think it's almost 80 years, obviously. He said, did you ever know that you were going to be a part of this legacy in an interview, that it would mean so much to people? And he said, that was just another job. It was, hot as hell in that suit. And no, I didn't have any fun. It was, it was work. It was just another job in a movie they thought might not even be a success. And you hear that and you think, how could he not know? But, when we're trudging along on our journeys as actors, we don't always know what's going to be successful or what's going to tug at people's heartstrings or what's going to be personal to people. And that's a perfect example to me. You two, for you, it's maybe Pokemon or something. Is there another kind of film you're interested in besides that's important to you? I don't know if it's Pokemon or whatever, you are interested in. It's stuff that, usually it's stuff that you carry with you over the decades of your life. And, And
Yeah.
those are the things I think that it certainly explains something like Pokemon and Mewtwo. The children loved these characters. And I identified with, that quote from Jack Haley because wearing a 20-pound suit and pretending to be a Tin Man and skipping down a yellow brick road it must have seemed strange if you had, no kind of an indication that it was going to be the big thing that it became for people. And that's how I feel about Pokemon. I'm very proud of being Mewtwo. I love that there's a Wikipedia page, and some of it has dedicated it to, or made some references to me. And again, it's something that is just cool. That's very cool to me. That means so much to people, and I'm very proud. That's why we're actors. We become actors because we want to get out of ourselves and be characters like Mewtwo or whatever live, movie, stage play, whatever we do as humans. We hope that people remember it, and we hope that we made an impression on people, and that's the stuff that becomes exciting. I certainly have been in many shows or, done some films where I thought this is a stinker, and then was proved wrong, or done projects that I thought were going to be amazing and really well was received, and they were not loved in the same way. So you never know. You never know as an actor what's going to make an impression on people, sometimes even years later, like Pokemon for me. So
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, at least you tried.
Yeah, and I'll try to understand it more. And I think it's interesting. I think it's a part of just the fact that I'm an artist. It's a part of there's a curiosity now about more than the film. It's about the fans. For me, I'm always asked why it made an impression on people, and why do you think it was so important to you, for example?
Okay, sure. Sure, for me, especially because, especially with Mewtwo, the thing is, I have times I could relate a little bit because sometimes I felt like an outsider and everything, and,
Mm-hmm.
it's just, with how people can be, it's just so deceiving, it's ridiculous. And Mewtwo really demonstrates
Yeah.
that.
Say it again?
With how people can be very deceiving, and Mewtwo really demonstrates that, especially with the scientists. Before
Mm-hmm.
before the lab explodes.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, that's so go ahead, sorry.
yeah, and so when you were doing that scene, what thoughts were going through your head when you were doing that sequence?
I just thought it was fascinating the way that, I just think that it starts off beautifully with him and who knows what was in that actual mix of chemicals around him, or water, or whatever it was. I thought it was fascinating that, I didn't understand at first when I saw the script that he was, I just saw a villain. And then as I read the script more, I understood more I had more compassion for him and understood why he was the way he was. And then by the time I saw the film, and actually started dubbing it, I really liked him a lot. And yeah, so that was fun from what I remember. It was fun to play somebody that, where I didn't have to, it was really just about the thought. And I think that's possibly why people, are drawn to the character, because they see an outsider and they see him struggling, and here he is new to the world. Again, not to repeat, to beat a dead horse, but for me it was kind of the Frankenstein story, another film that I was fascinated with from the 30s. Boris Karloff, in an amazing job. If you ever get a chance to see it, plays the monster, and it basically comes out of a place of love and wonderment, like we all are when we're hopefully, babies, children, and young adults, and then he's victimized by the world because of his looks, and people don't understand him, and then he gets angry and he becomes vengeful and raging, and that's part of Mewtwo's trait of thought legacy, I think, is the more you get to see how he deals with the world, you know, and that there's a pain underneath it all, the fact that he didn't ask to be born, and he, you know, he feels cheated, that, you know, he's this, you know, I don't know if you can understand, if we can understand what's that like, what is that like? And for me, it related to being an outsider in school, a very nerdy kid with braces and big glasses, and that, you know, being an outsider, I think that's part of what makes those kind of characters like Mewtwo really, you know, makes them really resonate with people and children, because we're feeling those feelings at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. Because especially, you know, since I mentioned that, of course, you did Mewtwo for the Birth Mewtwo. About that, I was one to ask. Did you do both, like, did you do like both versions, or did you just do the like, or did you just do like the growing up, just do like Mewtwo when growing up?
I'm a little confused.
Well, the thing is, for a little while there's of course the young Mewtwo, and then it gets to where, to where he starts growing and everything, and then of course his voice changes over time.
Right.
So I'm guessing, like, so did you do both parts, or did they have another actor do the young Mewtwo?
As far as I'm aware, you're talking about the first film, correct?
Yeah, the first film for when they had the Birth Mewtwo, but it was of course cut out.
Right. Right. I don't remember, to be honest with you. I don't remember a lot. I mean, it could perfectly. It could be that we recorded those. I honestly don't know. Not to sound uninterested or anything, but I don't remember specifically doing those. I mean, I remember, the thing I remember and was my first impression of him when he's freeing himself from the experiment, the tube, and that whether there was earlier dialogue, and so there's definitely a scene cut out. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, basically if you watch normal film, you can tell that certain half of it is cut. So the introduction sequence of Mewtwo for as they were to go through the whole, birth and everything, that's of course completely cut out.
Oh yeah, gotcha.
Which I kind of see why they kind of did, but at the same time, I'm like, why couldn't they have just put it in within the re-releases, Because
that would have been great.
I mean, because it's only ever been on the Mewtwo Returns DVD.
I gotcha. Okay. Yeah. So therefore, I don't honestly remember. I mean, my first impressions are of him being, I think, almost full grown, and I don't remember. I remember there was a lot of bubbling and kind of a mystical thing happening. I don't know if that's what the part is that you saw cut, but I vividly remember, him blasting out of that tube, and all hell blowing loose.
Yeah, of course. It's just of course when they had the whole birth scene, which they of course showed the whole developing and everything, to where they actually really show his character, instead of just skipping right to the point when he's about to break out of the test tube.
Yeah, I think we did film that, because doesn't he talks to himself as he's, where am I? Is that a part of the film?
Yes.
All that.
Yeah.
Where he's questioning.
Yeah. All those questioning. Which of course it's basically all before that point that's cut, and then once it gets to that point, that's of course the rest of it, and I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Because
that's odd.
Because back then I would have loved to see the actual birth sequence because it was actually really interesting.
Yeah.
Especially because
Sure. Well, that would be.
because they actually showed Mewtwo, developing,
Hmm.
and basically showcasing like why he became so angry.
Gotcha.
Because
Gotcha.
basically it was that, of course,
Yes.
the scientists basically forced him to forget about an old friend that, of course, died, which that at
Okay.
the time which at the time I can guarantee for a lot of kids was really, really dark if they would have seen that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very dark, and I'm so sorry, Aaron. I just don't remember being. It's not a vivid memory in my mind. That doesn't mean I didn't have something to do with it. But I mean, I guess you're the best judge of anyone. If you've seen any of that footage, you said it's in Mewtwo, the second film. That, or it's just lost. Is that what you're saying?
Well, of course, it was eventually released, but it was but it was, of course, limited release because of course because like I think it was only ever featured in the VHS, and then I think other releases I think it was cut out, if I'm correct.
I
Because
see.
because I
Gotcha. Yeah. My 50 years plus brain is this is where old age sets in, and I have a lot of vivid memories of many things, and that unfortunately is I just don't remember, to be totally honest with you.
Yeah. From what I was able to get, I can be absolutely sure that that with the birth Mewtwo, I think if I'm correct, I think you did up to about the end, right?
Yes.
Yeah, like as
Mm-hmm.
he's growing.
Yeah. I just see. To me, I just remember that isn't there a lot of water image and bubbles and before and I think I would have remembered a smaller version of him, or unless it's just the vocals. While it's more from his point of view looking out.
Well, yeah. There was, of course, a smaller version. Then, of course, he grew over time. Then, basically, just then as of course went to the whole deep sleep because of course the scientists
Mm-hmm.
Basically forced them to forget about his experience. Then then I could see why he got so angry.
Yeah.
Which is
Definitely.
I think if they would have kept that in, I think it would have made it like it would made more sense.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, it would make more sense, and you'd get to have a little more compassion for him. Not that there isn't in general in the film, but I love the way it starts though with him, and I love at the end because you've seen him go on a journey, and as he goes off, kind of to figure out more about why he was born, and I just think it's a beautiful way to end that film with him. And again, I identify with poor Mewtwo. I get it. I identify with being an outsider sometimes. So powerful stuff. And the more, I see what you're saying. The more kind of compassion you'd have for him as he grows into the big Mewtwo.
Yeah. Especially because as I said, it's one of those things where if they would have kept it, it would have made it times better. To make the story
I
work.
agree.
Because formerly, from what I know, Jay, I found out that the birth of Mewtwo, there was actually a Japanese radio drama based on the same name.
Oh wow!
Which was before
all this stuff. That's impressive.
Which was before it came out in Japan.
I gotcha.
Which I was surprised because I actually have listened to it, and there's actually a lot more that it actually reveals that of course with the birth Mewtwo like sequence, they're of course only able to showcase so much, like especially because they don't even really explain for the friend of Mewtwo like what exactly happened. They don't really explain that.
Right.
Which
Yeah, you've caught my interest. I'll have to check that out, and I would be, I'm curious enough to see this is probably very boring and unbelievable to people that I didn't really follow the rest of his course, into, looking at the other actor who played Mewtwo. It would have been, it would have been a point of interest for me to kind of see. Had I known how big this was going to be, I would have been more curious about it.
Yeah.
Well, listen, Aaron, it's been fantastic talking to you. I hope. Unfortunately, I have to go to dinner before it's too late for dinner. So, I'm gonna head out. I hope you got enough information and some of your curiosity was, was answered. So let's do it again, and I would love for you, and we can talk about this later. I'd love to.
Yeah,
I'd love to send you some Mewtwo stuff. So let's keep in touch.
I just have a couple more questions before you go.
Sure.
First off, how can people contact you?
Probably best. I think I have to update my address, but there's my artwork page on Facebook. You can contact me there. There is contact information. And reach out to me there, or reach out to me. There's a way to send emails through my website, which is www.jaygoede.com. And you can reach out to the artist. It's a little biography of me, and I'd be happy to keep in touch.
Yeah, absolutely. And last off, for anybody that's wanting to get into like a theater or acting career, what advice would you have for them from being an actor yourself?
That's a great question. Go where your heart leads you, because you have to have it's the entertainment industry is one of the toughest, and you've probably heard this before, but it really is one of the toughest over a long period of time for people to stay in, because it's a tough business. So you have to have a thick skin, but that doesn't mean that you have to, you kind of have to be innocent with your hopes and your dreams, and you have to keep those in place so that it doesn't become, as it beats you down a little bit, the business will beat you down like anything. It's highly competitive, but the great payoff is something like this. The fact that we're talking about Mewtwo and what this movie means to people, that is incredibly moving to me. That's something that wasn't even important enough for me to follow, or let alone have a lot of interest in, because it was just another job. If it's worth it, that's the stuff that you carry with you. That's the stuff that makes me smile. When I'm in a Target store and I see Mewtwo, it makes me very proud. And if you can hang in there, and also I think the biggest advice I give, I went to the Yale School of Drama. I was lucky. I came out of drama school with an agent, and I was all set to go, and still had a very difficult road ahead of me as an actor. But I think, what I'm saying is, don't forget the innocence of what made you want to be an actor to begin with. Don't let go of the dream. Keep that as a motor and an engine to move you forward. Don't sweat the small stuff, and really know who you are. Know what makes, what kind of stuff makes you passionate about, wanting to be an actor, and just let that be enough. And the business will take care of itself. It'll knock you left and right. And a lot of people get swallowed by it, and just don't make it either. It's a tough business, but as long as your heart's in it, and you kind of have to dream. You can't be cynical. You have to keep those dreams going. And sometimes it's just you and your dream, not a lot of people to believe in you. And those are the times that are hard. But I know for me, it's a happy thing, and I'm really grateful for the jobs I've had and the amazing actors I've gotten to work with over the years. Sigourney Weaver, Liam Neeson, Paul Newman, and Joanne Woodward, which are probably not familiar to you, but I was lucky, and even the stuff that I didn't think was going to be something I'd even remember, like Pokemon, is just goes to prove that you never know what's going to touch people's hearts. And that's what makes it exciting then, when you become an actor and you give it all you got, even when you don't want to, or even when you don't understand what you're reading, like some of Pokemon, I think, for people when they started with the voiceovers. But it will. And that's the part that makes me smile at the end of the day, that just to know that it touched people and that it continues to be important to people. That's all you can ask for, you know. When we go on to the next part of whatever our journey is in this earth and after, is you know, you'll have a legacy of something. One of my legacies is going to be Mewtwo, and as trivial as that might be to some people who don't understand, you know, what he means to people, it means a lot to me and people like you who, you know, who are interested enough to want to know more and who want to keep in contact and have questions. And again, my apologies for not knowing a lot more, but I'm becoming more educated. So hopefully, you know, as the years move forward with me, I'll have more to talk about with regards to Mewtwo. But thank you so much for this, Aaron, and let's please keep in touch.
Yep. Thank you, Jay.
All right, my pleasure. Have a great night.
Bye. Okay, guys, so that was my interview with Jay Goede. Hope you enjoy it, and I'll see you guys later.